I thought it was hot and warm in India. Uh, I guess the climate change is impacting all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm indeed delighted to be here with you and share some of my thoughts and perspectives on what we see in India and in Indian industry happening in the context of global warming, in the context of climate change, and I would like to share with you what we in industry in India are doing, including what we are doing with motivating our government to take proactive policies in helping industry to mitigate the global warming gases. Over the latter half of the last decade, as we all know, climate change has emerged as a serious global concern and has now taken center stage at all international government negotiations, and quite rightly so. It has the potential to destroy ecosystems and impact lives of billions of people around the globe. Most of all, it impacts all countries, but it is particularly severe for developing countries like India, given their vulnerabilities, inadequate means, and limited capacities to adapt to its effects. With 27.5% of the population still living below the poverty line, reducing vulnerability to the impacts of climate change is essential, as climate change will hit this section of society the hardest. India currently accounts for over 4% of global CO2 emissions and is the fifth largest CO2 emitter worldwide. Although the per capita emissions are amongst the lowest in the world, with gross domestic product, the GDP growth rates of 8 to 9%, which we believe are absolutely essential if we want to remove the poverty, or to at least reduce the poverty in our country. And this is a share of 1/6 of the global population. And with changing consumption patterns as income levels go up, India's emissions are set to increase dramatically. This is a fact. This is something which we have to live with. But at the same time, we also have to find policies and initiatives that are going to reduce the emissions that otherwise would take place. So it cannot be business as usual. We have to do something different in future. Even in India now, climate change is taking a central role in policy making and also with Indian industry as a whole. The Government of India released a National Action Plan on Climate Change in June 2008, which outlines a strategy by which India will adapt to climate change while maintaining a high growth rate, protecting poor and vulnerable sections, as I mentioned. It focuses on 8 areas, including energy efficiency. These are intended to deliver maximal benefits to development and climate change mitigation and adaptation. In addition, India has already announced that it will reduce its emission intensity of its GDP by 20 to 25% over the 2005 levels by the year 2020. That's just 8 years away from now. Through the pursuit of proactive policies, including a thrust on developing renewable energy sources and use of clean coal technologies. India's 12th five-year plan, which is going to start in April 2012, will have as one of its key pillars a low-carbon inclusive growth. The government is to launch the ambitious Perform, Achieve, Trade (PAT) scheme, which targets 88 energy-intensive sectors and is looking at energy savings of 6.6 million tons of oil equivalent by 2014. This initiative is quite unique and I think is being worked out, at least in the developing countries, for the first time. I don't know whether South Africa has adopted something similar or not, but the intention is to have something like a trading system that exists in Europe for the domestic Indian industry. So there will be emitters who will be above the norms that are set by regulators, and there will be emitters who will be less than the norms set by the regulators, and there will be an exchange by which certificates will be transferred, and those who are emitting more will have to pay, and those who are emitting less will get the benefit of having mitigated the emissions. Power generation companies are amongst the biggest emitters of greenhouse gases and are therefore amongst the most exposed companies to climate change policy and regulatory risks. In order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from this sector, the government has framed guidelines according to which the future coal-based generation will be developed using clean coal technologies like supercritical and integrated coal gasification combined cycle systems. This has now become a policy in India. So any power plant that comes up in the future will have to use the latest clean coal technology. The government is also focused strongly on increasing the contribution of renewable energy and clean fuel like gas in the country's energy mix. We've already achieved installation of over 21,000 megawatts of renewable-based power generation capacity in the last few years. The country has an additional 36,000 megawatts of large hydro capacity. The National Solar Mission, which envisages a capacity of 20 gigawatts by 2022, is another step in this direction. As you may be aware, in India we have a large number of sunlight days, something like over more than 300 fully sunlight days in a year. And we have deserts in India too. So it is ideal for locating solar power in these areas. And this is one of the biggest actions that is going to be taken by industry and government together. In the transport segment, there has been a sweeping change in India's vehicle stock over the past decade. Economic reforms enlarged the vehicle market and prompted rapid penetration by foreign brands. Rising concerns about air quality prompted the introduction of emissions-limiting performance standards in the year 2000. European-level emission norms for new cars and passenger vehicles was introduced in 2002 in the metropolitan cities in the country. This was a major step because the existing car manufacturers were obviously reluctant to switch over to the new technologies, but as part of the reduction of the emissions norms, this became mandatory. The average energy intensity in certain sectors such as cement and iron and steel has been declining consistently. In fact, today, India has some of the most energy efficient cement plants in the world. Several companies in India have been acting to achieve carbon advantage. ITC Limited has become the world's first company to be carbon positive, water positive, and zero solid waste discharge entity. Hero Honda, an automobile company, has launched a special initiative to reduce the eco footprints of its entire value chain, including its suppliers, etc. Nokia is launching several green phones in India, manufactured in India with biodegradable phone covers and recyclable battery design. Let me share a little bit about the future roadmap. On the way forward, a lot will depend on the effective post-2012 international framework to deal with climate change challenges that will result from the intergovernmental negotiations that are taking place right now in Durban. Indian industry is of the view that treaties like the Kyoto Protocol will help businesses take positive steps towards tackling climate change. Indian industry also supports the government's stand of being against the early stabilization of emissions and its decision of not undertaking any legally binding targets at this stage of its development, as it may compromise the overriding priority of our country to achieve sustainable development and eradication of poverty. As I mentioned earlier, we are still a complex society where we have a large middle class, many rich people, but we also have something like 400 million people who live in poverty. And as long as this situation is there, of course, with all the proactive steps that are being taken, we are seeing a reduction in percentage terms of poverty, absolute poverty levels, but the numbers are still daunting. And that is one of the reasons why in our negotiations in COPs that are taking place in Durban and in the past, we've been very clear that we will introduce non-binding targets for reduction of emissions, but these will be calibrated to our growth. That is absolutely imperative. And we have targeted in India a GDP growth of between 8 and 9% a year. And that is absolutely imperative for the next 10 years or so if we want to remove this absolute poverty I talked about. Meanwhile, at India Incorporated, we are hoping that the negotiations at Durban will culminate in future policy instruments which eliminate barriers in technology transfers and enable businesses to undertake low-carbon investments. This has been a sticking point in negotiations in the past, as well as from what we hear in Durban in the current COPS meeting, which is the issue of technology transfer. We do believe that the owners of technology, the improvisers and the developers of technology must be compensated. But I think the developed world needs to find solutions and answers along with us in the developing world as to how the compensation will be done. But it is imperative to transfer technology if we want to see growth taking place at the kind of levels that we want, and at the same time not contributing more towards the global warming. We are also expecting that there is greater clarity in dispersal of money from funds like the Green Climate Fund to facilitate investment in clearer and more efficient technologies which provide a positive return on investment. This is also in line with the country's stance on a global intellectual property rights regime, which expedites the transfer of critical mitigation and adaptation technologies, as I just mentioned. It is imperative that governments provide a clear long-term vision to industry. Public policy on climate change needs to have transparency, certainty, and longevity. The biggest risks to business is the policy risk, and the future growth path in this space will largely be dependent on the policy framework. Those of you who are from the business community will share with me the anxiety that investors have when there is no clear-cut policy or when there is a waffling on policy. And so we are very clear that there must be a clear and transparent way forward as far as policy is concerned. Nevertheless, I would like to reiterate that Indian industry is committed towards taking measures to reduce greenhouse gases emissions and will continue to play a proactive role in this space. I think there's much that is common between India and South Africa. While South Africa is certainly has a much higher per capita income than India does, but it also has the same problems of having people living in poverty and also having a reasonably large middle class. So I think the issues that both our nations are facing are to a large extent similar, and we do need to work together to see how we can collectively mitigate the problems that we are likely to face, and at the same time not compromise with reducing poverty in our countries. Thank you very much.